Hey folks, I'm back with another practice SQL interview problem. Let's get started. I'll be doing a hard one today. Let's just go ahead and pick this first one here. Marketing campaign success, and supposedly it's advanced. Because this is a hard problem, I'm going to start the timer and give myself 7 minutes to try and solve it. All right, let's read the prompt. You have a table of in-app purchases by user. Users that make their first in-app purchase are placed in a marketing campaign where they see call to actions for more in-app purchases. Find the number of users that make additional in-app purchases due to the success of the marketing campaign. The marketing campaign doesn't start until one day after the initial in-app purchase, so users that only made one or multiple purchases on the first day do not count, nor do we count users that over time purchase only the products they purchased on the first day. Wow, there's a lot here. I have to reread this. So we have one table of in-app purchases by user, which is called marketing campaign. Okay. Users that make their first in-app purchase are placed in a marketing campaign. Find the number of users that make additional in-app purchases due to the success of the campaign. Find the number of users that make additional in-app purchases. Okay. And the marketing campaign doesn't start until one day after the initial in-app purchase. So users that only made one. Okay. All right, so I think what this is essentially asking is how many users made a purchase after their first day, and that purchase was of a product that was different than the one that they purchased on the first day. And they just want the count, right? Find the number of users. They just want the count. All right, so let's examine this table. There's just not too many columns. I think what we need is user ID, product ID, and created at, right? We need user ID, of course, because they want the count of users. We need product ID because we only want to count the users that bought a different product than they did on their first day. And then we need created at because we want only the users that purchased after their first day. Okay, that was a long time just kind of understanding this question. So let's get started here. The first thing we need to do is figure out for every user what day was their first purchase. So I'll call it first purchase date as user ID, and then we want the first day that they made their first purchase. Okay, that should work. And then now that we have the first day that each user made their first purchase, we need to find out the first product or products that they purchased on that very first day. I'll call it first purchase product. First purchase product. I already know I'm going to have to do a join here. So let's select the user ID and the product ID that they purchased. But this is, right now, this would select all of the products that a user has ever purchased. We just wanted to limit it to the products that a user purchased on their first day. So we'll join this table here on user ID and on day. So what this is doing here is it's joining the first purchase date CTE by user ID and then also by date. So this will limit this list of user IDs and product IDs to only the product IDs that a user has purchased on their very first day. Now let's put this all together. So we can join this first purchase date CTE. I'll explain why in a second. I'm going to go kind of fast, guys, because I want to solve this in less than 7 minutes. All right, so we've joined the first purchase date CTE just based on user ID, not on date. And we want to join this first purchase product CTE. I'll do a left join, and again, I'll explain later. Okay. And then we just want the count of user IDs. And then we need to do some filters. So this filter here is filtering only for purchases made after that first day. Okay. And then this filter that I'm about to do is filtering for purchases of products that were not the products that that user bought on their first day. So let's run this code. Okay, it ran. I think that this is right. Let me just double check real quick. So this is just, it's a user ID and the first day that they made a purchase. This is a list of the user IDs and the products that they purchased on the very first day. And then this is the count of user IDs that made a purchase after their first purchase date, and that purchase was different than the product that they bought on their first day. So let's check the solution. Okay, that was right. Wow, this one was tough. Let's talk about it. The very first reason why it's tough is, well, the instructions. The instructions are pretty long, and quite frankly, there's a lot of irrelevant information here. Like, they're talking to you about a marketing campaign where they see call to actions. Like, this is, of course, in a real business setting, like this context is very important. But in an interview setting, they're really just trying to confuse you. Like, they're trying to test your listening comprehension and see if you can parse out what's important in the question. So, marketing campaign where they see call to actions for more in-app purchases. This, for the purposes of the SQL interview, this doesn't even matter. The marketing campaign doesn't start until one day after the initial in-app purchase. I mean, again, these instructions are somewhat convoluted, right? Like, something that I like to do sometimes if it's very convoluted instructions is boil it down. What do we want? Like, output number of users that made a purchase. Sorry, that might be easier to read. Number of users that made a purchase after their first purchase date and purchased a product other than the products they purchased on their first day. You see how I boiled this down? It's 3 lines and it's way shorter than what they have here. So I'll have to go back in the video, or you guys can go back in the video to look, but I think by the time I fully understood this, like a minute and a half had passed at least, maybe almost 2 minutes. And that really cuts into your time. So the quicker you can understand what they're asking, then the faster you can get to starting to write the code. So that's definitely a major reason why I think that this is a hard question. The table itself is not too big of a deal. Sometimes they throw you a huge table with like 15 columns and you have to figure out which columns are relevant, but here it's just 5 columns and you do actually need 3 of them. Okay, the next reason why this is hard is you have to use several CTEs or subqueries. In this case, I opted for CTEs. I'm not sure that there's a way to solve this without using either CTEs or subqueries. At least for me personally, I use CTEs a lot, so I tend to lean on that because I'm very comfortable with it. But look at this. You have to make 2 CTEs. The first one is pretty straightforward, right? It's just calculating the first day that a user made a purchase. But then the second one requires a join in order to figure out what are the products a user has purchased on the first day. So I would say that's kind of a medium, joins is probably a medium difficulty kind of a thing. But then to get the final answer, you have to do a join, and then I'm doing a left join, and then you have to make a where statement. None of these are that hard in isolation, but in a high pressure interview setting, this could be easy to mess up. So yeah, this is overall, I think, a pretty tough question. If you don't understand any of this, feel free to leave me a comment with questions. I'll try my best to answer. And if you are interested in practicing these for yourself, I use Stratascratch. There's a link to it in the video description. Certainly there are other platforms that will give you practice SQL interview questions, but I personally liked Stratascratch the most. Okay, hope that was helpful.